Welcome to the Community Air Grant Cycle 5 Request for Applications Workshop. I'm Trish and I work for the California Air Resources Board, or CARB, in the Office of Community Air Protection as the grant program lead. This is the agenda that we'll cover in the public workshops about the Cycle 5 Request for Applications. We'll give an overview of the Community Air Grant Program, an overview of the Cycle 5 Request for Applications. We'll have discussion and questions, and wrap up in next steps. Before we jump into the request for applications, we'll have a brief introduction about community air grants. Community air grants were written into Assembly Bill 617, and the specific language is shown on this slide. It states that CARB shall provide grants to community-based organizations for technical assistance and to support community participation in the Community Air Protection Program. The legislature provides funding to CARB to implement AB 617 through the state's annual budget process. As a first for community air grants, Cycle 5 combines funding from two funding years, the Budget Acts of 2022 and 2023. CARB has an AB 617 budget website and program funding frequently asked questions, or FAQ, with questions and answers about AB 617 funding, and you can click the link on this slide. The first element about the Cycle 5 Community Air Grant Request for Applications is eligibility. This can also be found at the top of page 9 in the RFA document. To be eligible to apply for a community air grant, the applicant must be either a California community-based organization holding a current tax-exempt status under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code, a California organization holding a tax-exempt status under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code as the grantee in partnership with a California community-based organization without Section 501c3 status designated as a sub-grantee, or a California Native American tribe. For the purposes of this grant, this includes all federally recognized tribes and other California Native American tribes as defined by Governor's Executive Orders B 1011 and N 1519. Not eligible for funding are individuals, schools, school districts, universities, or colleges, public or private, California organizations holding a tax-exempt status under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code, ancillary or affiliated to a local municipal, city, county, or state governmental agency or entity. This list is not exhaustive. The table on this slide shows the number of community air grant awards and funding to date. With the fourth cycle, $35 million has been awarded to 69 community-based organizations and 8 California Native American tribes. The total funding amount available and the maximum award amount per project has varied in cycles. For Cycle 5, CARB is increasing the maximum award amount compared to previous cycles, promoting a new project type, and increasing staff support during project implementation. This slide contains the Community Air Protection Program funding broken down into its 3 funding sources, which includes implementation funding, CAP incentive funding, and the community air grants. These are distinct and separate sources of funding designated and used for different elements of the program. As you can see here, implementation funding is administered to the air districts for implementation support for the Community Air Protection Program, which is separate from the Community Air Grants funding that CARB administers directly to community-based organizations and California Native American tribes. Now we're going to dive into the Cycle 5 Community Air Grant request for applications. We'd like for participants to follow along to the sections that we'll be highlighting in this presentation. The website where you can find the RFA or request for applications is shown here, both the URL and an image of the website on the right. We won't be going through everything in the RFA. However, this is your opportunity to go through it, especially for those that haven't yet, and raise questions you have about submitting an application. To start, we wanted to highlight a very important detail. The application deadline is Friday, November 1st. The RFA was posted to the Community Air Grants website, and an email was sent out to multiple CARB email lists announcing the opening of the application window on September 3rd. Please turn to the table of contents starting on the second page of the RFA to see the sections we will highlight on this slide and the following one. There are Cycle 5 priorities and a timeline, applicant eligibility, maximum award amounts of $300,000 for educational projects and $500,000 for technical and focused projects. A grant application submittal checklist, that's 3 pages. The Community Air Grant application and instructions, and tips for application writing. The RFA contains the criteria that CARB will use to guide selection of the next cycle of community air grants. And to conclude the overview of the Cycle 5 RFA table of contents, the RFA contains eligible and ineligible costs, project types and sample objectives, scoring criteria, CARB resources for applicants, and appendices A through K, including the appendices listed on this slide. The 2-page grant application cover sheet, the project work plan template, which is a Microsoft Word document, the grant budget template, which is a Microsoft Excel file, sample resolutions for both tribes and nonprofit organizations, and the State of California payee data record, which is required when receiving payment from the State of California in lieu of an IRS W-9. This next section will go through priorities for Cycle 5 Community Air Grants. Cycle 5 Community Air Grants will focus on the priorities shown here to promote and support a diverse range of effective community-based and community-driven solutions, which can serve as models and be expanded upon to benefit impacted communities throughout the state. The priorities include equitable participation and local partnership building, coordination and collaboration, fostering workforce development and training, advancing equity and environmental justice, promoting transferability of emission reduction strategies contained in CERPs to other communities, building community capacity to engage in the program to develop and implement local community emission reduction plans, or LCERPs, and providing program benefits to disadvantaged communities disproportionately impacted by air pollution. In addition to the priorities we just shared, community air grant projects must be wholly located in and benefit disadvantaged or low-income communities to maximize benefits to priority populations. Projects must provide direct, meaningful, and assured benefits to priority populations, as identified pursuant to Senate Bill 535 and Assembly Bill 1550, which includes California Native American tribal lands or tribal communities. Next, we'll talk about how the relationship of the community air protection process and the community air grant project types align. On the left in the graphic are high-level steps of the community air protection process under AB 617. The first step highlights AB 617 stakeholders, such as community coming together as partners in the shared goal of improving air quality at the local scale. All of the 19 community steering committees, or CSCs, in the program have taken the time to learn about air quality and share with CARB and air districts their community perspectives and ideas about how we can work in partnership to address community air quality impacts. Shared understanding about air quality can focus on air emission inventories and monitoring. Based on that foundation, community steering committees have prioritized their air quality priorities, working with the air district to develop a plan or a SERP to put those strategies into action, which is implementation. We can see those same steps playing out in the project types included in the community air grant request for applications, which fall under three main categories shown in the table on the right: educational, technical, and focused. Convening and partnering is an essential step for all project types. Shared learning is the goal of grant projects focused on building capacity and raising awareness about air quality. Prioritizing happens both in the context of developing and implementing an air quality monitoring plan, which is a technical project type, and in the local community emission reduction plans, or LSERPs, focused project type. Planning happens in developing air quality monitoring projects and LSERPs, and implementation happens in the focused project type of emission reduction strategies expansion. When writing the grant application, we recommend pursuing the SMARTY grant objective approach. Ensure the project is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, timely, inclusive, and equitable, or SMARTY in approach. For SMARTY goal setting, refer to the link shown on this slide. This approach will assist in defining and communicating the intended outcomes, track progress, evaluate the project's impact, and advance equity. Table 1 in the request for applications is on pages 27 through 32. That's right, Table 1 spans 6 pages and contains the scoring criteria, including the format and specific information required for evaluation. The specific information required for evaluation includes general project information, organizational background, partnerships, collaboration, and leveraging, with points available for letters of support and letters of commitment, the work plan tasks and project timeline, the project budget, and project alignment with the Community Air Protection Program. We have a not so subtle image on this slide to start early on developing your work plan and project budget. For LSERP projects, start working with collaborators early. That includes reaching out to air districts to invite them to partner with you. Please do not leave this to the last minute. Request letters of commitment. These are more specific than general letters of support from air districts or other potential partners, such as cities or counties. An LSERP application must include at least one letter of commitment. The commitment letter should include details of any specific commitments from a project partner of any type of resource. For example, technical assistance for monitoring. As a courtesy, we recommend providing any of the partners who have given you a letter of support or commitment with a copy of the final work plan. This will help your partners see their role in the larger context of the project and aid them in planning. Before we leave this slide, we wanted to mention the Start Now image once more. Reviewing your application, especially your sound and feasible work plan and reasonable budget, will be important. In addition, including letters of support or commitment, which can increase your points, require advanced planning to reach out to your partners early and ensure you get your needed letters back in time to submit your application by Friday, November 1st. Now we're moving on to the grant timeline. We released a draft RFA on July 19th, and the RFA was refined in consideration of the comments received and finalized on September 3rd. We're currently holding a series of public workshops for the final RFA, and the deadline for applications is Friday, November 1st. After the November 1st application deadline, projects will be selected in March of next year and start implementation next June through 2027. Please prepare your application well in advance of the deadline, which is 11:59 p.m. on Friday, November 1st. Applications are accepted via email to the email address shown here, airgrants, one word, @arb.ca.gov. For any questions or clarifications, please contact Leah Acey, Grant Coordinator Extraordinaire, at the email address shown here, the same one where you submit applications, or the phone number shown here. Thank you very much for taking the time to be here today.